See what happens with that. All right, so just to reiterate, I'm recording the Zoom session and the audio is rolling now on the phone as well. I'm rolling on the iPhone 12 here, right in front of my face.
Audio on Damien's iPhone for Evolution Now Podcast 9.
Cool, man. Hey, welcome back to Evolution Now. I'm your host, JJ Wolf, here live with Damien Chinappi. How you doing, Damien?
I'm good, JJ. Podcast number 9, sir. Here we go.
Yeah, episode 9. So we've been keeping this thing going now for a couple months, and every time we do it, it gets a little bit better and a little bit better. And I'm excited to discuss a few things. I think when we were doing our pre-production for this session, we were talking about overcoming challenges. And what was the second? I had said something else in that message as well. Do you recall?
It was something about remembering to dream big when you're in like a darker place or things aren't going well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is overcoming challenges, and then also, remembering to think big when you catch yourself thinking small. I've been finding that sometimes it's easy to drift, because I move around a lot. I spend a lot of time in Miami, but I've been spending a lot of time in Costa Rica, as our listeners probably know by now. But the last few years I've been in Costa Rica, and it's just a different environment. People are a little bit more in touch with their health and a little bit more in touch with nature. But just the nature of it all, people are farther away from the concept of success and wealth. And so I do find that living here, I'm not surrounded by people that are as financially successful. Whereas when I'm in a place like Miami, I'm surrounded by people that are, in their dream. They're living big. They're working extra hard. They've got the urban hustle with also the paradise dream that Miami has this perfect balance of. And so just recently I noticed that I've been back in Costa Rica for a little while now, and I already found myself thinking small. I've been trying to make this decision, been in this decision-making process of how do I, maintain a life in Costa Rica while also getting a new apartment in Miami next month. And I was thinking to myself, well, my rent here is less than half of what it's going to be in Florida. Does it make sense to spend all this extra money to go live in Florida? But that thinking big frame of mind reminds me that when I'm in Miami, I'm able to earn way more than 3 times what I'm earning while I'm in Costa Rica working remotely, because I'm surrounded by people that are inspiring and working hard on their projects. Even if I'm working remotely here or I'm working on something digital and remote there, my energy is different and more inspired, and I'm thinking bigger. And so it's just so important to surround yourself with people that are thinking big if you actually want to pursue something big. Can you relate with that?
100%. Look, you're going on a journey that we've all been on, at least most of us. Like, you have this life, this home, this community, and you're going to the relative unknown. Now, Miami, but the act in and of itself of like, hey, I have more finances that I need to allocate to my rent. I need to pick up my life and move it. But you're totally right. It's very easy to get sucked into what's comfortable, and that's the known. And I'm sorry, what's the question you're asking? Because I was just kind of playing.
I was just asking if you can relate to that, just surrounding yourself with people that have a vision that's on fire, that are really pursuing something big, surrounding yourself with that, helping to keep your fire lit.
Right. No, 100%. I have mentors right now. There's really like 3 people who, one of them's a new friend who came in, older woman. She's in her 60s, but very successful, has a studio. I'll keep her anonymous. I don't know if she would want me to share her name, but just the quality of thoughts when they talk to you, especially people that are a couple decades older. They have life experience and they have practical experience of how to be successful. Because myself and you, we're very much in the grind. We're still very hungry to reach some level of recognition and financial success where these people have lived it and they're looking back. And, it's funny, we're both in our 30s, and I'm talking these people that are like 50s, 60s, and they're like, you're so young. And although I understand, young, 35, 35 isn't 25, but I digress. That's still young. But to have people be able to reflect like, hey, listen, this is what you want to do, and this is how you do it, and I'm here for you. And the more I'm around that, the more my self-belief starts to grow. And I'm always a big believer that the internal game is about making the urge to quit, the negative voices in your head, making them more dim. And you make those empowering, courageous thoughts of action louder. And there's no middle ground. You're either making that belief louder and stronger, or you're giving into that urge to quit, and that's getting louder. So again, the more you can break through that urge to quit, it gets dimmer, and you're following that version of yourself that's like, you know what? I'm 100% confident in my ability to make decisions and manage issues. And some of those issues is that internal voice.
Absolutely, man. And that I love that analogy of raising the volume and lowering the volume, right? Lowering the volume of whatever that negative self-talk or doubt may be, and then raising the volume on that optimistic, that dream vision that you have. I think that's a powerful state of mind to maintain.
Can I add on to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So in the past couple of weeks, my commitment to win, which is to break through that urge to quit, has strengthened. But I noticed, like, once I started getting in line with that thought,
like, highlight that commitment to win. My commitment to win, 3 times the charm, commitment to win.
Yeah, and the more I had to uncover that commitment to win, but it was painful because I'd been ignoring it for so long, and then before I kind of got out of my dark place and my kind of negative patch, it was like I didn't want to engage with it because I had ignored it for so long. It was almost like a inner part of myself, and it just hurt to go, oh man, I remember how good that feels, and I've neglected that. So there's this weird game, but then I started just saying, hey man, I'm not believing in things that take power away from me, whether it be hypothetical situations, whether it be my own internal voice, or whether it be outcomes in life that feel. So I just started playing with saying to myself, like, I don't believe in things that take power away from me. And that's a blanket statement. So the more I put that out, the more I've been able to go, okay, I feel that urge to quit. I'm going to commit to win. I'm going to actively engage with my commitment to win. And that's a Tim Grover line from the book Winning. He was the guy who trained Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. And he said, look for the urge to quit because it's coming, baby. It's coming minute 5 of your work session. It could come in the second hour. Look for that. And then actively engage with your commitment to win. So it's that full spectrum, the failure and the success, and they're connected.
That's incredible, and they are connected. And in being aware of it, anticipating it, that's how you train for success. By engaging with your commitment to win. I actually recently was I do a lot of audio recordings on my phone. Music samples, ideas, all kinds of different things, and I came across an audio recording. I had written out what you call the change theory. I had written out a change theory, and this is almost 2 years ago, actually. And it was just yesterday or the day before. I was actually coming back from the city with my new MacBook Pro, and I'm on a bus. And so I'm just trying to burn the time in a productive way, make the bus ride go faster, but also feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. And one of the things I'll do every so often is go back and kind of name the recordings, like, idea 27, how to build a house or whatever it is. And one of them was the change theory from a couple of years back. But actively engaging with the commitment to win. Just powerful stuff, man. So, hey, it's just to go into a little behind the scenes chat. I know we're kind of off of our framework today as we continue to develop what this Evolution Now podcast is. One of the things I've noticed as I just, enjoy consuming this pocket television, aka Instagram and TikTok, the people that seem to be prolific, they're talking with their hands, really animated, they have a lot of energy, and it's that energy that's compelling. And so not to over dramatize or be inauthentic, but as I'm recording this podcast with you, I do think about how the more ecstasy I can bring to my face, the more expression, the more I can talk with my hands and express what I'm expressing, whatever it is. I'll say expressing again, because it's such a great word, express. Thinking about what your expression is. Are you, furrowing your brow? Are you excited? These animated qualities of this performance, this, performative conversation, because that's what this really is performative conversation, is a key to finding success with this whole personal brand pursuit.
Performative conversation. That's amazing. That's an amazing conceptual framework. You just come up with that?
It's, well, I mean, it's my own intuitive interpretation of what I'm expressing right now is, that performative conversation. Because I mean, in a world where we are so saturated and we're so overabundant with so much information, I mean, how often do you hear a soundbite and you're like, oh, I love this, and then you realize I've heard something similar to this before, or like, I love this quote, this is my favorite quote, and you're hearing somebody say it again, and it's a different person saying it in a slightly different format, but I still save it on my saved clips or whatever it is because I love it. And so in that sense, it's performative. It's a regurgitation of collective human consciousness. These are things that we've already seen before, but we love them. And that's the concept of personal brand. It's like, who can keep enough, people talk about like maintaining a high frequency, and frequency is literally how the pace of occurrence, right? Like every second, every 2 seconds, every minute, every hour, that's frequency, right? And so the people that are actually succeeding online are the people that are publishing themselves at the highest frequency. Someone like Grant Cardone or Gary Vaynerchuk, if you look at their pages, some of them are putting out 3, 5, even 10 pieces of content per day, per channel, and they have teams doing it. And another example of somebody that's been blowing up huge in recent times, I'm sure you've seen him all over the internet, is Andrew Tate, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting things, so he made a lot of money, and it's become a controversy now because he would convince girls to do TikToks and then make money off that. But to that same degree, my intuition says that he's dug into understanding how to delegate and how to bring people on to make action for him. So I've been noticing that, like, I'll be scrolling, or the suggested reels, or suggested accounts, whatever, and I'm seeing like Morpheus Tate, Cobra Tate, Wisdom Tate. There's got to be hundreds of accounts that all say Tate, and if you look at them, it'll have 9,000, 15,000 followers and 0 following. And if you look at it, it's all Tate posts. And I'm thinking, these are just publishing farms that are pushing his content out, which is an amazing strategy. All of these different accounts, all because it's not about one account, it's about one name, right? Like he's not concerned about his main account blowing up. He's concerned about the concept of his name proliferating around the world. And he's, one of the most famous names out there right now, whether it's the PSYOP or the opposite PSYOP, or what do they call controlled opposition? I mean, Tate, Andrew
Well, he's been at
Tate.
it. He's been at it for years too. You have to remember, he had this thing called the Iron Mind a couple years back, and it was a course you could buy. Now it's on YouTube for free. But yeah, when you're at that level and you have that amount of resource and money, I think doing that makes sense, right? But it's predicated on having a very strong message, a message of masculinity. And then what he did, in my mind, is like, the more polarizing, the better, because whether they love you or hate you, they're talking about you. But I want to go back to something you said about, it was kind of about thoughts, like quality of thoughts and getting into good thoughts. And frequency. So I've been reading some literature on elevating consciousness. And the idea is that there is a map of consciousness that ranges from 1 to 1,000. And as you go up the map, you increase in power, right? And so basically the line of demarcation is level 200. That's the level of courage. Everything below that is lower mind. Everything above that is higher mind. And depending on the level of consciousness that you are at, you will pick up on an attractor pattern field of consciousness. And this is correlating thoughts, attitudes, emotions. So I thought it was really cool to look at a situation. And if you react negatively, you go, well, I'm ashamed of this, or I'm doubtful of this, or I'm prideful or fearful. And then you can kind of, with this book, the author is David Hawkins, really smart guy. He was an MD and psychiatrist, a bunch of things. And he reached enlightenment, and he came back and we talked about it. And it's just a fascinating read. But basically, you can look at this map and go, well, if I feel doubtful about something, but then I adopt the attitude of being willing, if I put forth willingness, I go from calibration level like 100 to 310, I think, is willingness. And that by looking at things differently, by changing your perspective of your perception, you can see a different world and you can engage in that world and have more abilities. So I like that idea of being like, you can upgrade your thinking, but it's not a single click. It's driving conscious effort consistently over a period of time. And it's funny, it's like you're following thoughts and like that. I refuse to believe in things that take my power away. That's a thought that I've been really following for about 3 weeks. And it's like the wallpaper of my mind. And that if I notice something negative comes up and my body kind of reacts to it, I'll just run that thought. And it's almost like clearing the contents of consciousness. And even to be completely honest, when I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, it's like that's like my default now. Like if my mind's always on guard for the way it's going to try to like put me down or try to like mess with my vibe. And I totally understand that protect your vibe thing. And yeah, it's esoteric. Yeah, you can kind of go hippie, but when you combine that practice with actual actions, man, you can start to really, and what I think is happening is shifting consciousness where you're coming up, you're being more willing, you're more courageous, you're more loving, you're more joyful. So.
Absolutely. And, whether you're a scientific mind or you're a holistic, alternative, natural type mind, at the end of the day, quantum physicists and those healer types, those hippies, they both agree that it's all energy, from a cellular level to, a consciousness level to, your dream space, to your subconscious. How you see the world is how you create your reality. Because every day, every choice that we make about to be present enough to be able to be intentional with our words and to be intentional with our actions, that allows us to create whatever reality we want. Now, obviously, there's a limit to this magic, right? We can't just say, like, I'd like $100,000 cash to appear in my hand right now. I think it'd be maybe that much cash. I'd love to be able to say, hey, I'd like $100,000 in my hand right now. But if I keep my mind on that frequency and I say to myself, okay, well, I'm open to the idea of $100,000 coming into my reality at some point in the near future, not attached to any specific outcome, and I'm open to that, then I can start discussing, well, how might I make, $100,000 cash in the next few months or whatever it may be. And then we can start to discuss ideas of how to actually put that into action, because we're open to it, because I'm open to it and I'm not rejecting that that's a possibility, right? And so that open-mindedness is what allows that reality to come into fruition, and it's, it's being unattached to the time frame.
And I think you'll agree that it has to be combined with action, and a lot of it, consistent action. Like
Absolutely.
Thinking is good, but the thought without the action is like the wind without a sail. It's just blowing around, not going anywhere.
Thought without action is like a sail without the wind. I love that. Or the wind without a sail to push on. Definitely, that's the action. And so, I just to go back a little bit, what you were talking about, what was it called? Iron Mindset or something? Iron Mind, the Tate thing. People, I've mentioned this podcast to a few people, not a lot of people, and they say, oh, what's it about? And I was just say personal evolution. And I would just, dig in a little even more deeply and just say, it's really about, embracing the possibility that you can be your best today. You can step into whatever your best is right now, and you can be better every single day, and that's, I love Kevin Hart when he says that. He talks about, he's not trying to compete with anybody else. He's just trying to beat himself. Like, I'm trying to beat me tomorrow, right? Like I want to be better than I was yesterday, right? Like just continuous improvement, because it's a one life to live kind of thing, it's, we get one shot. So how good can we get,
Yeah. And I think to that point, you can be better every day. Something that doesn't get put into that story is it's going to suck. There are going to be some days that really suck, that difficult, nothing flows. But in my opinion, in my experience, those are the most important days. Because look, your emotions go, I don't feel like doing shit today. I'm not motivated. But when you train yourself to go through those lapses of motivation, it picks back up. So that's another thing I've been actively working on, energizing my killer instinct. You go, what's that? It's not going out and hunting, although it could be. And to some degree, it is hunting. What I'm hunting is the natural lapse in motivation where I'm working or I'm starting my day and there's no motivation and I can instantly, that's the urge to quit, the lapse of motivation. So once that happens, I go, it's time to energize my killer instinct. All right, what am I killing? The reliance on emotion to do stuff. So lapse of motivation, I look for the urge to quit, then I commit to win, which is like, hey, no momentum, man. We're at a standstill. Generate momentum, get messy, get better with that killer instinct. And that what I found is about 5 minutes after I've engaged with my commitment to win, which is offset the urge to quit, it just picks back up. And then I go, and then a half hour goes by, and it's like, cool, that's part of the blueprint. We got to repeat that. And this is another thing that I've had an explosion of kind of ideas in the past 2 weeks, and I've been writing a lot. So I'm really fired up for this. And what you're talking about all speaks to it. So, you know, when you're in a bad place, you just feel alone. Nobody's connected with you. You can't see anything, right? And so what I started playing with is, well, if you believe in a higher power, the only way you can really connect with that higher power is being present. It's through your higher power that your future self gets revealed. And you can only build that future self in the present. So it's almost like this trinity. So it's not just a you, it's not a me, it's not an I, it's a we. It's my higher power revealing my future self, which I build in the present. So it's like this triangular connection.
Love that.
And I've just been channeling that thing and being like, okay, let's cycle these thoughts. Nothing's taking my power away, okay? I refuse to be weak or damaged. I refuse to be ordinary. And I'm looking for my urge to quit so I can actively engage with my commitment to win. We, my higher power, my future self, and me in the present, we get to be something more. And that's been the practice. And that's led to so much stuff. And that to me is, although it's esoteric, the more you can make those thoughts real and have them come in clear and you receive them and then you start to link them together, much like gears. It's very change theory orientated, what I'm talking about. Once you can link them together, the more times you see that urge to quit, it instantly goes, okay, now I can really commit to win. Okay, now I'm going to have my killer instinct. Okay, power in the present, my higher power, future self. I got to do it right now when it sucks, when it's uncomfortable. But through that, I become something greater. And that to me, that's a single player game, and we're all playing it. If you're an entrepreneur or not, that's you learning to be a greater version of you. And to me, ultimately, it's a team effort. It's higher power, it's your intuition, and it's being present.
Your higher power, it's your intuition, and it's being present. I love that, man. I love earlier you said refuse to be ordinary. Gosh, man, that's so good. I can feel it. My heart's pumping, man. I feel motivated and excited. You know, and that's what this is about, man. Yeah, man, bringing it to life. And as we dig into what this thing is that we're building, you had said, you know, I'm not sure, it might have been right before we started the recording, but you had said, you know, you're working on something new, but you don't necessarily want to talk about it too much because you don't want to dilute the energy. You don't want to distract from whatever it is or invite any other concepts in. But I can relate with that so much. And as I think about what we've been doing with this podcast, a lot of it, and, you know, I've been going through a lot of heavy life decision kind of stuff the last few months. So I think a lot of these podcasts that we have recorded have been I've been sharing a lot about my process and my decisions and the actual things that are going on in my life, you know, which is authentic. And that's how we build relatability and authenticity and connect with our audience and create that connection, is by discussing things that are really happening. You know, and as we build this and as we bring on some more guests and develop our framework for the calls and for these episodes of this show, you know, I think we'll have more of a framework of discussing, you know, words and definitions and semantics and systems and specific knowledge and references. But as we share about our lives and our personal journeys and you know, what we're going through, you know, the concepts for this episode of overcoming challenges and then also remembering to think big when we catch ourselves thinking small. You know, right now, I have kind of a fun little story. 4 months ago, I was walking on a trail. We had just went to a waterfall, me and a couple friends, and as we were walking back this trail to this little parking lot where I had parked my car on down this dirt road, I had thought I saw a puppy with this couple, and I was thinking to myself, you know, I would love to have a dog. When might I have a dog? When might I get my first dog? You know, I never had my own dog in my life, and I've met a lot of people traveling, particularly in Central America, who've adopted dogs. Even I kind of have a fairy godmother in Boston, and she's adopted a couple dogs, I think, from Mexico over the years. But anyway, long story short, not a minute later, there was a little dog laying in the grass next to my car down a dirt road in the middle of nowhere here in Central America, covered in fleas, kind of upset. She looks like she couldn't walk. And I was just in a really good mood, feeling really abundant. And I have an old truck, and I just said, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to have this dog for 4 days, 4 months, or forever, but I know that I can make her life a little better right now. And so I gave her a little piece of coconut. She was pretty responsive to me. And there were 2 girls saying, definitely take the dog. Yeah, of course, we got to save this. And 2 other girls being like, don't put the dog in the car. What are you doing? And in that moment, I was just feeling like, I don't care. I can make this like the life of this little animal better. And so anyway, I put the dog in the back of my truck, took her home, and that night scrubbed her down with some soap in the shower. And she's been a really great little companion. I've had this dog now for 4 months. She stayed with another friend of mine for a month when I was in the States. But as I'm contemplating the next steps in my life path, I'm thinking I need to pass her on to somebody else. And I'm experiencing a little heartbreak thinking about it. I've got all these little video clips and photos and memories now of these 4 months I spent with this little dog. And this morning when I was meditating, I was thinking, like, I'm feeling love for this little being. And I've been, kind of coming through some challenges the last few months. And so I've been allowing my heart to be kind of soothed by the presence of this little dog. And I realized that, kind of like, breaking up with the childhood sweetheart when you got to leave town for the big city to go pursue your dreams. Like, I don't need this dog's love to pursue my dreams in life right now. I'm bigger than this and I'm stronger than this. And so I've been really tuning into this breakup with this little dog that I'm about to execute. And so this decision has been really weighing on me for a few weeks, but I'm pretty close to making this decision because there's one friend in town, and she's from Tennessee, and she said, I would take that dog. Oh, bonus, the dog's pregnant.
Wow. That's a cool little story, and like it's a microcosm of kind of like life. You have this little bundle of joy that's given you so much. You got to take care of it. And yeah, it's definitely tough. It's a tough decision, but you know what? Like, to evolve, it requires making those tough choices.
Tough choices and sacrifices as well. Like, there's a part of me that, like, I just want to keep everything in my life. I want to keep every photo and every screenshot on my phone, every note that I've ever written, every contact that I've ever made in my phone. And over the last month, I've actually unfollowed 2,000 accounts on Instagram because I realized I had just, over the last year, I'd been just following random Alpha Kings 101, Shirley Temple, model, pole dancer, fire spinner, fucking bikini photography account, like just so many random accounts. And I've been culling it and bringing it down, just unfollowing, 30 to 50 at a time, a couple times a day.
It's smart.
2,000. And and so realizing that, it's time to what I was going to say is realizing limitation is actually part of it as well. Like right now, it's a sacrifice to let go of the, like this connection with this beautiful little dog, but also, like, my time is limited, my resources are limited. I can't bilocate. I can't be in multiple locations at the exact same time. And that's okay. Accepting that limitation is okay. And realizing I have to sacrifice and let go of this little pup. And, also, like, I saw a really cool looking Doberman on the street earlier. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I've got this awesome little dog. She turned out to be great. Taught her to sit. She's freaking awesome. I don't know if we're swearing on this podcast yet, but she's fucking awesome. And anyway, I saw this Doberman earlier, and I was thinking, like, it's like, whether it's later this year, next year, the year after, I look forward to the day that I am so grounded and so stable and so abundant that I can actually, go out and acquire myself or whatever destiny holds for me. But like I dream of having a bigger, more full-size dog in my life, you know, a counterpart dog that I can go on a 3-mile run with, a dog that'll protect my property.
Mm.
I don't want to ramble too much, Damien. I know you got a lot to share as well, but one of my challenges right now, I got back from the States and I had an apartment here I hadn't been in 6 weeks, and it's got bars on the windows and screens. And there were some slits in the screen. Somebody had cut them with a knife, and nothing was stolen. There wasn't really much in the house. Nobody got inside the house. I didn't think much of it. I thought, okay, something happened while I was out of town, whatever.
Mm.
Then someone, about a week after I got back, used a stick with a hook through the hole in the screen, pulled a backpack over to the window, was able to empty all the clothes out of the backpack, took out a little pouch that had $800 cash in it, and they stole $800 and the backpack through the window, which was a traveling backpack that was at my house. And
Dude,
unbelievable. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah. Talk about some challenges. Yeah.
Oh,
Now I'm
yeah.
closing the windows and closing the blinds every night, or when I leave the house when I'm not there. But then last week, my laptop overheated after a year of heavy video editing work. So I went to the city, bought another brand new MacBook Pro for almost $2,000. You know, it's like, I didn't want to spend that money. I want to spend it on, I want to save it, spend it on other things, put in some investment accounts. But, you know, it just is what it is, man. And the decision, I was going to buy a secondhand MacBook for $800, or I could buy a brand new MacBook for $1,600. But what I realized is that from the perspective that whatever path I choose, everything's going to be all right. And, go big or go home. If I buy the $1,600 laptop and put AppleCare on it, months down the road, anything happens, I can get it repaired. Months down the road, I want to resell it. It's got AppleCare. It's in the brand new box. Sure, I'll get $1,000, $1,200. If I buy this secondhand $800 laptop, even though it might seem good right now, it doesn't have warranty. It doesn't have the original packaging. If it shits the bed, I got no recourse, and it's harder to resell. So I had to go big or go home and go with the bigger investment. You know?
Smart, man. Like, a couple things. Like, the fact that you went and you're purging your social media, that's great. I've done that. You know, you can't be careless with your awareness, because everything slips into the subconscious. All the eating videos, all the hot girl videos, all the stupid like skateboarders getting injured videos, all that stuff is taking up it's taking up bandwidth. And to cruise at a really high altitude, you got to be free. And if you have all that stuff, you can't be free. You can't be careless with your awareness. Number two, you talked about limits. And one of my mentors says the first step to breaking through your limits is first knowing them. So that's super smart. What was the third point? There's a third point that I was going to make.
Sacrifice or go big or go home, bigger investment.
I think it was, well, that's the cost of doing business. That's another term I like. Got to spend money to make money. You got the better equipment because that's the price of doing business. And to kind of bring it full circle on a consciousness scale, right? The challenges, the problems of one person become the challenges that are stimulants to another. So as you get higher up this scale of consciousness, somebody on a lower part of the scale will go, oh, that's a challenge. It drains me. I got to do this. But someone higher up goes, hold my beer. And they go and take care of it. And I like thinking about that. I relate that to being in the gym. Like there's this younger cat who's at the gym I work at. He's 19, 20-year-old kid, full of piss and vinegar, like we all were at that age. And I tried telling him, like, dude, why are you complaining? You're at the gym. Oh, I'm tired. I need food. It's like, dude, you're here to lift weights, to get stronger, to get better. How can you speak that way and think it's going to manifest in power and strength? Because I used to do that. And I thought, well, if I'm trying to build myself into the type of person that can endure a lot of stuff, I have to use my killer instinct to cut out the complaints. Because there's a dissonance between trying to be strong and taking things on and taking on as much weight as you can, but then like complaining, it doesn't link up, and you got to choose which part to kill. And that to me is the internal game of going, that's not a problem. Once you can conceptually look at those complaints and the parts of yourself that you want to get rid of as a challenge to eliminate and clean up, then you have all the fuel to be like, okay, I got a lot of work to do on me. But that challenge is what's going to motivate me. That's what's going to drive me and light me up. But coming back to your thing, there's so many lessons in there. Don't be careless with your awareness. Price of doing business, but mostly simplify, right? In your mind, you looked at this computer, the 816, you simplified it. Long-term goal, it's going to be better to invest. Simple.
Yeah, and there's a few other layers to it too. So basically, I had a 2019 MacBook Pro that I bought that was top end, 15 inches, and I've been living in Costa Rica for a few years off and on as a tourist, going back and forth between the U.S. And here it's so hot and humid that they wear out even faster. But Mac, maybe about 7 years ago, they started doing the interior of the computer, instead of having separate parts that plug into each other, like the hard drive and the RAM and the video card and the battery, they started to solder everything together. So the inside of the MacBook is primarily just one chunk. You can't replace a hard drive, you can't replace a battery anymore. They just replace the whole brain. And one of the things that sucks about that is you can't easily extract the data. So like, for instance, if the video processing card dies or the motherboard dies, you can't get inside the brain of the computer to extract the data unless you do some heavier lifting. You have to unsolder and reconnect. And so basically the last 2 times that my computer had overheated here in Costa Rica the last few years, I was able to go to the main city, and under Apple Care warranty, I was able to get, yeah, you're looking pretty overexposed on the Zoom call now.
I don't know what the hell's happening.
Yeah. Did the lighting change? You got some light coming in from outside or something?
Something changed. Sorry to break your flow, but keep going.
It's all right. Keep the tamaño, the size there, whatever you can do, figure it out.
Trying, bro. I'm trying.
Anyway, long story short, the last 2 times I had the logic board replaced by Apple Care, they just burned the data. They're just like, yeah, we fixed it, but we lost all your data. And a smart person has everything backed up. I have my primary projects backed up off the brain of the laptop, but the last time they fixed it, they upgraded me to a 4 terabyte internal solid state drive. And I got in the habit of keeping things on the laptop. And so then it just overheated. And now I've got a few things that have been lost, namely the original recordings of our podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. However,
but you sent them to me.
Most of them. The only one that I hadn't actually synced and uploaded was the one with Rich, which sucks. But
oh man,
but he's a very good friend of mine, and he was tired and blinky, and it was his first time doing a recorded call. And so I think we could do a better job than we did, and it might be a blessing in disguise. But also, these are the challenges that I've been going through, and it's like, but also with the choice to get the more expensive laptop, what I could have done is I could have given my laptop again to the certified Apple store here in Costa Rica and had them once again fix it, but they would replace the inside and throw away my data. But I'm thinking if I wait and bring it to an Apple store in the US, they may be able to extract my data, because it's Apple store in the US as opposed to Apple's certified reseller of Apple, authorized retailer here in Costa Rica. Anyway, overcoming the challenges. We're at about 40 minutes. And the last few calls, we've been 35, 40 minutes. We talked about keeping it short and sweet. At the same time, I think, an hour really is, like the measure of like a good podcast. I think should be at least an hour, probably. I've been editing a lot of podcasts for other people. So, just digging into, the framework that we're building here on Evolution Now, talking about overcoming challenges, and pursuing greatness, right? How to think big when you catch yourself thinking small. Do you have any examples that you would like to share about catching yourself thinking small and then thinking bigger that you haven't already discussed on the episode? And, without giving too much away about your current projects that are just in their infancy? Yeah,
no, look, when you get down, it's real easy for that whatever's pulling you down to kind of lean on your neck, so your vision starts to get lower and lower. It's about network then. You got to reach out to your mentors and the people that are above you, because they'll pull you up. They'll pull you up and they'll remind you who you are. And then you'll get a glimpse, and at that point, it's about small victories. Small little victories. Hey, I'm going to write 2,000 words today. Or, hey, I'm going to send this email, or I'm going to reach out to 2 other people. And it's about stringing together interactions, because when you're low like that, it's very rare that you're going to pull yourself out completely. It's usually going to be a hand that's going to help you up. And that hand again gives you perspective. And so I think it's very important. There's a duality of intensely engaged work balanced with zooming out. You know, if you can zoom out on your life and go, man, if you're in a really dark place, it feels like it's never ending. But when you zoom out and you look at like your life of 30 years or whatever, you go, it's just a small patch. It's not the reality. You know, it's just a patch. And knowing that, again, your perception determines what you're actually seeing. So if you can start to tell yourself, like, I'm only in a patch, this is going to end, your mind will start to look for ways for it to end. And then again, by having a strong network and people you trust and have loyalty to, they'll remind you who you are, and that'll help you zoom out and kind of get your footing.
Right. Help you remind you who you are by reflecting back to you. And that's, that's the value that I've found so far with these calls, is even just to connect and hear what you're working on and share. I know that you've got a few projects that like are in utero and infancy that you don't want to shatter the magic there. But do you want to share a little bit about like what your dreams or aspirations are in an authentic way? Like, I know you've acted in some films, you've worked on a few TV show things, and you're you're a prolific fitness enthusiast and body sculptor. I don't know what you want to call your efforts there, but I know on your Instagram you often showing off your abs, and you're pretty lean, and you're very consistent with the gym. If you want to share a little bit about what where do you see yourself in a year or 5 years or 10 years? What are your dreams? What are your huge milestones that you're committed to winning in your lifetime?
Yeah, great question. And it's to have a career in entertainment. It's to be able to make projects with people that I know, like, and trust, and to be able to pour myself into work that I absolutely love. And as a consequence of wanting to be an actor, I've had to grow and evolve into being a producer and a writer and a director. And that's made my acting that much better. And it's all fashioned around having a strong body, strong mind. If you don't have a strong body, how are you gonna have a strong mind? And how are you gonna have a strong business? How are you gonna have a strong career? How are you gonna have a strong convictions, right? So it is about empowering myself by building myself, building my body, building my mind, building the corpus of ideas and shows that I'm starting to bring up and meet with other producers about. So my big goal is to have one of these projects launch, whether it be, On Tap's a project I've worked on. Seven Hills Reward is a project that I worked on. And I have a few other ones in their infancy. But the goal is to build them, get financing behind them, put a team together, and then go shoot the dang thing, and then do it again, but do it better and do it bigger.
Cool. And are there any are you familiar with the SMART, SMART goals framework? I think it came from a Harvard professor like maybe 20 years ago or something. But
can you refresh me?
Like specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-oriented, something like that. What are some of the measurable outcomes where like in a statement where you could say, like, how would you define, like, yes, I checked that box, like, shoot the dang thing, is it like I want to shoot 5 more series, or is it I want to have a show on Netflix specifically, or HBO, or I want to work with this actor or director, or are there any very specific goals that you could call out? Or
it's very granular, meaning it's more like pedestrian. I'd say it's make the pitch decks, which is basically an outlay of what the show looks visually, gives you an idea of characters, structure, tone, demographics in the world. Then it's take meetings. Then it's get financing. Now, I haven't got financing before, so this is an unknown. But what's different about this now is my network has expanded, and there are people out there who run in really high tier business circles and have great connections. And through them, I've shown them some pitch decks that I found. They went, wow, this is really well put together, and this is good. I want to help you. And I can't tell you how, when you're receptive to somebody saying, I believe in you and I want to help you, when you're receptive, because I've heard that before and I wasn't receptive. It's just like a stone wall. But now I'm at a place where a few people that I really respect and that I really get so much out of every conversation are saying, hey, you're really good at this and I want to help you. And here's some advice. And I'm like, more advice, more advice. So to me, it's not like walking the red carpet and doing a scene with Christian Bale or working with Christopher Nolan. That to me becomes a little too esoteric. I'm just like, hey, I'm not going to try to go to Mars if I haven't driven my car to Boston. You feel me? So I'm really trying to do the things of like, all right, I know how to create. What I don't know is business and financing. And now I've aligned myself with people who have experience in those endeavors, and I'm learning. And I feel like to the outside eye, it looks like nothing's happening. But each day I feel like I'm getting an inch, a foot. And it feels like a foot in the right direction. Because before my mind would go, I don't know that. And I got to get, and it's all this. It's all these things that were taking power away from me. And as I've started to create this psychic barrier that's literally just like picking all these mind bombs and like destroying them before they do any damage, I'm getting that inch, I'm getting that foot, and I'm getting closer, and I'm feeling more powerful. Not in like a dominating way, but like in a self-realization way where I feel like energy's coming up and I get super charged up, and I'm just present, and I'm taking in what people say. And it's funny, like a lot of things are now like the power of attraction, and it's not based on any random thing. It's based on effort. You know, there have been a couple conversations that brought me out of my negative patch, and I got to go to New York City, see a film premiere and talk to people. And it's funny, once you can kind of make your way through that darkness, and if you remain strong in that journey, when you get out of that darkness, it's like the clarity of the light just makes you kind of run double. So yeah, they're granular, smaller goals. And I think through that, it's kind of like, it's just progressing to bigger and bigger. Because once it's get the producer on, then it's get the financing. Once it's get the financing, then it becomes more real. But it's about just doing the things that I know I can do every day and refining what I'm working on, so that when it gets to the opportunity that someone's like, hey, this is it, I did my job, and then I can learn more.
That's some incredible clarity, and those are powerful perspectives to have. And you know, realistically, it's the most important step is the next step. You know, you got to have, you know, some orientation towards the direction and towards the goal, but that goal may adjust itself as, you know, the picture becomes a little bit clearer, you know, as that resolution starts to clarify. And you know, I think it was in the movie The Secret, but there's this might have been the guy who wrote The Chicken Soup for the Soul, but there's an analogy of you know, a car driving at night, its headlights only see the next 200 feet, but it can go hundreds of miles in pitch darkness by seeing the next 200 feet. It doesn't have to see that next 100 miles to be able to go that 100 miles. It just has to see very clearly those next few steps.
I'm curious for you to expand upon that. How do you relate that to real life and your own entrepreneurial journey?
Win the day. Win the day. Win the day.
Amen.
Win the week. Win the week. Win the month. Win the year. Win the day. Win the hour. Win the moment. You know, and that comes back down to presence. You know, and you know, meditation, yoga, running, workouts, journaling, reading. You know, breath work. You know, these things that bring us into the present moment. That's where everything truly exists. You know, time is man-made. You know, animals don't live with minutes and hours and weeks and calendars. You know, time is made by man. You know, we divided the circle of the day, of the year. You know, we created these measurements in order to create the mechanics of society. And it's a beautiful framework when we're in control of our lives and how we use that time. I've had a tremendous battle with my own self-control, you know, making myself have the habit of like, okay, I'm on the calendar, looking at the calendar when I wake up and before I go to bed, make sure I don't miss any early start meetings, make sure I don't miss anything that's been planned for that day, you know, these kinds of things, you know, and that comes from the habit of looking at the calendar every single day. And, you know, from that perspective, also planning the time ahead of time. And, you know, I've spent a lot of time trying to refigure it out, because as a freelance creator, you know, I haven't had a job in over a decade. I've been working for myself. And, you know, I have many clients and I've worked for different agencies and stuff, but at the end of the day, you know, I show up when I'm supposed to show up to do filming. And then if I'm doing post-production editing or any admin stuff on my computer, et cetera, it's all self-discipline and self-starting and self-motivation. And so, you know, I've gone, you know, I don't even want to admit this, but there's been many periods of my life in the last few years where I've gone weeks without really even looking at my calendar, because I'm just like, you know, in my notebook, I'm like, I got these 5 projects going on and I'm just chugging along, you know. But then there's the other end of the spectrum, going from unplanned time to planned time. I've realized in my experiments with how I schedule my time that I can't schedule block time like 9 to 10 and 10 to 11 and 11 to 12. Like I'm going to work on project A for 3 hours and then B for 3 hours. Like I need a little bit of wiggle room. I need some break time, you know.
Renewal time.
Yeah, you know. And so Brendan Burchard says work for 50 minutes and then take 10, and then work for 50 minutes and then take 10. You know, there's a Pomodoro method, which is like, you know, 3 45s and then a 20 off or something like that. You know, there's all these systems, but time blocking, generally speaking, is the best method. You know, these hours I'm doing this, turn the phone off, I'm doing this for this period of time.
And like I've seen your schedule, and you stacked up a serious like corpus of like clients and work, and it's crazy. It looks like some like Da Vinci Code like map you got to figure out. And I've been there. I get in those seasons of my life where it's like really like that detail. Recently now, I go, what's my big goal for the day? What's my big goal? And I can center I had an audition on Saturday, and that was my big goal. I'm like, I'm just gonna get this audition, 2 versions of this audition down. And I did it. I felt great. And everything conformed around it. Now we feel like we're getting more done when we like, I got 20 things I need to get it, versus like, what's that one big thing that if you do it today, when your head hits the pillow, you're gonna go, God damn, I got the shit done today. You know, that's a strong thing, because once you get that done, it may take the whole day, but getting that one thing done or getting the creative needle a little closer will harvest more positive emotion than doing 20 little inconsequential things that just pad the ego. I have this thing on the tip of my tongue. I keep losing it. But to simplify, right? It's got to come back.
Yeah, to prioritize. I know the most important task is so huge, you know. And a good friend of mine, Chris Williams, he's been a successful entrepreneur in a number of different ways, and he started a franchised fencing company, which is pretty interesting in New York. But he
like sword fighting fencing, like sword fighting fencing?
like building fences. Like a fencing company. And but he would tell me, you know, he would ask himself, what's the most profitable thing I could do today? What are the most profitable actions, right? You know, from a business perspective. And that's a powerful way to look at your own schedule from that CEO level of like, okay, like you're saying, what is the biggest thing I can get done today? What's the most important task? And that is important, right? Because like, you know, I could have, you know, 18 little tasks, like, oh, I'd like to study this for 30 minutes. I'd like to make sure I, you know, do a meditative walk for 15 minutes. I'd like to make 7 phone calls. I'd like to go to the post office, but none of those things are going to get my script written. And once that script is written, then I can seek some financing to make my film, you know, or whatever the case may be. So
that reminded me of what I wanted to just to add in. But you're 100% right. And it's about potential, right? And this is what I kind of discovered. Potential, when you're in a bad place and you talk about it, makes you feel good. But when you engage with potential, it sucks. It's a feeling of discomfort, because potential means you're engaging with a greater version of yourself, and you're going to struggle. But to your point, like I think it's like a pocket knife, right? You have your main knife, which is the simplified one task today. There you go. But then you have your scissors and your file, which are those days. Some days require you have to do 20 things, and that would be the best thing. But again, I think the more you can trust your ability to make decisions, the more you can go, okay, it's a big goal day, or today I gotta do detail work, whatever. But it's about trusting and feeling good about whatever you're engaging in, you know, whether it's 20 things or whether it's just one big thing.
I journal a lot, you know. I fill these notebooks out probably 3 or 4 a year, sometimes more, depending on what kinds of things I'm working on. And But I was just reviewing my notes this morning for an hour or two, and it was really clarifying to look back on the last few weeks and months. And one of the things I wrote out is, and then I've been dealing with, is that, you know, I can't work blind. Like I need to know that the steps that I'm taking are lined up to a clear outcome. So, you know, like right now I have some major editing on the table, but then I also have some dream projects, some pitch decks I want to put together for some land projects here in Costa Rica. Also just some decisions I need to make, and some travel planning for the next few months, and then also business development strategy for my media company and some other things. And you know, I want to just put my head down today and work for 10 hours straight and get all the editing done. But it's tough for me to dig into complete focus if I don't have a clear picture in the back of my mind of how all of these actions add up to bringing me where I want to go. So, you know, it has to balance out, because, right, like there's seeing the next 200 feet to drive 50 miles through the dark night, and also knowing that I'm on the right fucking road. You know, you got to be on the right path, and that takes, you know, confidence, and you know, a lot of self-trust, and it's important to have that, you know, and to know that you're doing, you know, the right set of actions to bring you towards your goal and moving, because the sun is kind of getting a little strong right here. But, yeah, man, there's so much, man. I love these conversations that we've been having, you know, speaking of which, you know, we can go back to a little bit more BTS, a little behind the scenes, a little bit of developmental conversation. Some landmark achievements actually happened in the last week, in major part because of my laptop melted down last week. I borrowed a laptop from somebody, and it was a MacBook Air, and I couldn't get my Final Cut program to function correctly on it. So I had 4 hours with a MacBook the day after my MacBook died, and I couldn't do the video editing, which was a primary task I needed to work on. So I said to myself, well, how in the hell can I be productive with the next few hours? And I thought to myself, what have I been putting off that I would actually love to do? So I put together a landing page for the Evolution Now project.
Dude, you went off. You went off, dude.
The Instagram page is up, the YouTube channel is up. We've got an email account to manage it, and the website is up. And so I'm pretty stoked about that. And so right now,
Super
I'm thinking about the
stoked,
steps. Yeah, what did you think about that? What did you think about
Dude,
that?
I was like, I don't know what got in JJ's water today, but my man just went off. I was and it's like what you did in that 4 hours, it would take some people 6 weeks, you know, and it just shows you like that pure focus. That, I mean, that if only for your own peace of mind, like, dude, that concentrated focus. I mean, that's millionaire mindset right there, dude. That's like bulletproof focus and unshakable direction. So I was blown away by that, because that made this whole thing so much more real.
Oh man, thanks for saying that. Yeah, and it's something I've practiced a few times over the last few years, is this concept of like hyperspeed brand ecosystem creation. You know, so it's like it's a YouTube channel. You know, well, you start with make a Gmail, and then an Instagram account, and then a YouTube account, and then you connect your URL to a web page and have some sort of basic, you just have some sort of basic website set up. You know, it doesn't have to have a lot on it, but just to get started. It's like, you know, if I buy a bunch of paint, but I don't have any canvas, I can't really make anything, right? And so I feel like what we're doing with this performative conversation, you know, this experiment, Evolution Now project, it's about creating a corpus of recorded intellectual discussion, you know, about varying topics, and, you know, it's refining itself as we go. But now we've got a body of material. Like, so for me as a digital creator, the material is images and words, right? And so in the format of video recording, we've got words and images together, right? If I were to look through your Facebook or my Facebook, I'd find a bunch of still images that also represent who we are. And then we could also do some writing along with that. we've got the writing that's going to be the blog. But essentially, these video recordings to me as a content creator are the paint, right? And so now that we have, this is the 9th one, the lost one, hopefully get it back when I get the data recovered. But basically, now that we have this 7-8 hours or whatever it is of video content, that's the paint. And I can chop it up and I can take chunks out of these videos and then turn them into Instagram posts,
100%
clips, Facebook posts, all of these things. And we can even, I could have somebody on Fiverr or myself or you or somebody else could transcribe the episodes. Then we have even more text to then put onto blogs. So now that we've got all this paint, it's important to get the website up that will hold the blog so that we can then use the paint of this intellectual creation, this cognitive creation of words to then, blast the internet with our energy and our concepts, and our personalities.
Dude, dope. It's so well put. Yeah, I think the analogy, it's more like clay, because I feel like you're picking little pieces of a statue and we're sculpting this big thing, and you're going to take the arm and we'll just show the arm and take the ankle. But no, you're 100% spot on. And I love these conversations. We are at an hour.
Awesome.
So I don't know if we want to just kind of wrap it up. Yeah, dude.
Sure.
It is.
Well, just to review with you just briefly. So I want to chop up all these little pieces of clay, paint, whatever it is, and make little bits of content and start blasting it out on the Instagram and the YouTube, and then also for us to put up blog stuff out. One thing I do need from you, because I'll just start grabbing stuff off your Facebook and I'll just steal stuff from the internet, but I'd love you to, if you could just send me images that you're comfortable with me using. I can send you the link to a Google Drive folder to put those in, as well as I start to produce pieces of content from our video, I'll put it in a Google Drive folder so you can review it, just to make sure that, and then, eventually we might get to a point where you're just like, yeah, just post it. And if I see something I don't like, we take it down. But as we begin, just to make sure you feel comfortable with it, you can definitely, review things before they get published.
100%. Much appreciated. And did you ever get a chance to see the second blog that I sent you?
I haven't really. I didn't even read the first one. I just cut and paste, but I will.
Oh, really?
I will. It's just a time thing. Right now I've been in this.
No, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, brother. But hey, Evolution 9.
Posture.
EMP, baby.
Posture.
Oh, yeah. EMP.
And as we wrap it up.
Episode 9, started back in April. Here we are in July. And keep growing, baby. Keep growing.
Evolution Now Project. Thank you so much for being here again, Damien. I'm so excited for what we're creating. To our viewers out there, thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions or ideas, send us a message, leave a comment wherever you're seeing this. And yeah, keep growing, man. Keep growing.
Keep growing, my people. Until number 10.
All right. Over now.
Over now.
All righty.
Yes, sir.
Cut.
Boom.